The following presentation is brought to you by kmmedia.pro. Please visit kmmedia.pro for more information. Now stay right where you are as we present. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, evolving ideas, one conversation at a time. Great guests, dynamic stories and interviews, plus new thoughts on a wide range of topics and concepts. I hope that you'll hang with me, Kevin McDonald, my friends, and of course, you. As together we work to understand why we are all here and what we can do to make our world a better place for all of us. To be happy, be kind, and live in peace together. Yep, that's Positive Talk Radio. Positive Talk Radio. My name is Kevin McDonald, and we have got a great show for you today. And if you know deep in your heart that you have a passion for life and that you are destined to do some great things, but you have no earthly idea how. We're going to talk to somebody today who does have an earthly idea how and can help you fulfill the dreams that you have for what you want to accomplish in your life. Her name is Julie DeLucca-Collins, and she is right here talking with us now. And we're also going to talk about the Passionistas. I cannot say that word to save my life. The Passionistas.
The Passionistas.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Nancy and Amy are with that group, and we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. But first, I want to talk to Julie about being a coach, a business coach who can help you understand how to do your business better from the ground up, because she's been through it all, from less than successful to highly successful. So, Julie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Kevin, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here. It's an honor, honestly, because when I first got to know you, I thought, ooh, this is the big time. I'm excited. So yay, thank you.
Well, I don't know if it's a big time, but it's a good time.
It's a good time for sure too. So thanks again.
Oh, you're more than welcome, and you're welcome, by the way, anytime, because one of the passions that I have is I'm passionate about doing this and creating a place for people to go where they can learn all kinds of great things from great people who've been there and can help you out, and that's really is awesome. So I want to ask you though, how did you get started doing this? There was a time when you were in corporate America and you were doing all of that kind of thing, but what happened? What transitioned you?
Yeah, so, very simply put, I liked my job. I enjoyed what I did. I was good at what I did. I was chief innovation officer for an educational company out of New York. I was in charge of all of the programming and developing some of the new business and contracts that we had with school districts. I loved and I was passionate about working with teachers and educators. I come from a family of educators, and ultimately I also knew that, as you climb the corporate ladder, at least for women, you don't see a lot of us at the table. And I thought, I was so fortunate, Kevin. Honestly, I was so fortunate. My dad was such an incredible mentor. When I started to work in corporate, he's like, honey, you know, and he would give me his tips and stories, and I love that. But I found that, a lot of women, for whatever reason, there weren't many of us in these leadership roles. And I thought, what can I do to help others? So I started to volunteer at the local colleges and universities here in Connecticut, where I moved here, I guess 10 years ago. I've been living here. And I worked as a mentor in leadership programs. Soon I was asked by the governor to be part of the governor's council to advise them on how to help women and girls here in the state of Connecticut. And I love that too. And I was doing my work and everything is great. And then I thought, I want to improve. And over the course of the years, I had worked with a life coach, and I thought, you know what, I am going to get my coaching certification because I want to help myself. I want to get better. I know that there's things that are not great about me, and I want to improve those. So I got my coaching certification, and then I thought, hey, maybe in 5 years, I'll start to look at, and I had been working with a client here and there. People knew that I had gotten coaching certification and said, "Hey, I want to start a business. Can you help me? I don't know anything about business. And I know that you worked in the business world." And I would talk to them and I would give them advice or help them or support them, mentor them, coach them. And I thought, this is cool. I like it. And yeah, that was the plan. And then March 2020 came about, and I got a call from the CEO of the company that I worked for. And he said, "I have tough news." And I knew immediately what he was going to say because obviously I was part of the C suite and I knew where we were um, as a company. And it was a tough place for many of us, for many companies, for many organizations. We were living in a world that was so uncertain. We've never seen anything like this. And we had already started this lockdown, and schools were not in session. We couldn't work with schools. We couldn't deliver services. And they offered me a separation package and I took it. And immediately when, he said that, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I knew that I was gonna go out on my own. I was not going to contact a recruiter or headhunter. I was just going to launch my own business. And I knew exactly what I was going to call it. It was gonna be Go Confidently Coaching, because the quote by Henry David Thoreau, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams," has been my mantra in life. It's a quote my dad first shared many, many years ago. And every time I wanted to do something and accomplish anything, I really went back to that quote to walk me through. And I knew that my dad had helped me so that I in turn can help others. Go confidently, find their dreams. And my dream is not like yours, it's not like somebody else's. But sometimes we need to really be able to have the right support. We need to be able to have um, the person that's going to cheer us on, or the person that you can bounce things off from, or learn some of the tangible things and help you create the habits that you are going to need in order to do that. So that's how I got started. And here we are, two and a half years in.
Oh, I gotta ask you, the first thing is, what was it like getting a call from the governor wanting you to join a conference or a committee or to champion women's
So
rights? How
I didn't get a call from the governor, but if he wants to call me, my number is online. You can find it. I'm happy to do that. No, the call came in from the leadership program that I had been working with at the college. It started to grow. I had met the commissioner of education, and I had also many years ago I had been on the advisory board for the Department of Education here in Connecticut and several other states to on the implementation of governmental educational programs, right? So I guess my name was out there to some extent, but um, as they were forming, Governor Lamont was starting to form this new committee or task force. They wanted to bring people from different walks of life. And there is a big focus also on science, STEM, and my company did a lot of work in school districts, providing training and services on the science, technology, math area. So I know from that perspective what does it take to implement some of these programs as well. And it was one of the staffers for the lieutenant governor that just reached out and said, "Hey, we know some of the work that you do. You volunteer in all these different places. Would you be open to being part of the committee?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it. I love it." Because I always have an opinion and I am not shy to share it.
Well, the thing is, when you're in corporate America, business operates much differently than you are if you're an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Making that transition from being a corporate person and having the big round table and all that stuff to sitting at your kitchen table by yourself, developing and starting your own company. What was that transition like for you?
Well, funny you should say that because we did. I'm a very social person, number one. And although the company that I worked for was in New York, and I would commute into the city either for the day or overnight, or I would travel around the country. Um, Being home, the transition, I had already been working from home to an extent, but my dad gave me a piece of advice that was very helpful also through the pandemic and starting my own business. When I started working from home, he said, "Honey, I don't care what you're doing, but always dress as if you're going to the office." And throughout the pandemic, my husband would laugh because he was home and he was helping me get the business up and started, and I would come down and look like if I was going to the office every day, and I still to some extent. I put makeup on every day. I'm not the person that looks, that has business on top, pajamas on the bottom. That's not me. I'm gonna dress every day for work, and that really creates a mindset, number 1. Number 2, I've been an entrepreneur forever. Even though I've been in corporate, my first side hustle or my little business was at 14 when I decided to go into my mom's office. And I used to go to all the different offices and say, "Hey, do you need someone to run your errands? I can go to the store and I can pick up your dry cleaners." And I had a little hustle thing going on. So not being someone that works for herself, an entrepreneur, is not new to me. But what I really did is I failed in the very beginning as an entrepreneur. And I'll tell you why. Because I was trying to run the business kind of like, oh, it's a side hustle, or this is a new business. I'm a new business owner. Let me go find a logo. Oh, no, I need a pretty website. What should I put on my website? Oh, you know what? I don't like those colors. And that's what I was focusing on. And then finally, 6 months down the road, I sat down and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this." And I had a conversation with myself and I said, "Julie, what would you say to someone that's in a similar position? Run your business like a business, girl." You need to, like, first of all, you need to hire somebody because you can't do it all, right? And I said to my husband, "I'm hiring an assistant." And he's like, "What? We can't afford an assistant. You don't need an assistant." I'm like, "Nope, I need an assistant because I am the CEO of this company, and there's certain tasks that a CEO does. And not that they're beneath me, honestly, because I can do it all. But there's certain things in order to grow my business. I am the only person that can talk to a potential client. I don't need to be, deciding what I'm going to post on social media and how make the pretty graphics or anything like that. I also need to create some very clear benchmarks for the company. There's no company that doesn't have any growth without having benchmarks. So I needed to figure out what the benchmarks were going to be. If I want to get 10 clients, how many people do I need to talk to? What is going to be my strategy for marketing? What is you're reviewing the financials for the company as well, allocating, and all of the different things. Like, what is your, how much do you spend? How much do you keep? What's your profit? How much do you pay yourself? So all of that are things that I started to implement early on because I wanted to make sure that I was not going to make the mistakes and really be clear that I was shooting for something and not just haphazardly. Just like if you're driving somewhere that you've never been, you're going to have directions. You're going to have a map or some sort of GPS and consult that and recalibrate and also say, "Oh, how many more miles do I have?" before you actually, and if you need to stop at a rest stop, you do it. You're like, "Oh, the rest stop, well, I need to get gas in the next station." So know these very crucial steps along the way. And the other thing is I had to stop comparing to somebody else who was more successful, or at least, from what you saw online was more successful. And I had to say, "You know what? I don't know how long they've been doing this, but I can't compare my beginning to somebody else's middle or end. So I need to really just focus on what I do." And you need to know also that in a world where there's a lot of competition, what is it that creates your unique brand? And knowing that my unique brand is driven by my values and how I'm communicating those to people was going to be very key. That also helped me.
That is, that for some of us, that takes a great deal of time because when I first started this podcast, and the radio show and all the things that I do, I was a one-man band. I could do it all. I could do
Mhm.
the editing, I could do the voiceovers, I could do everything that I needed to do, and what I found out over time is you can't do everything,
No.
because there are certain things that you do well that you are responsible for
Mhm.
as far as the head of the company, as far as doing what you're doing, and you can't do a lot of just waste a lot of time doing a lot of editing or a lot of social media, and because that takes a lot of
Yeah.
time, and you have to be the driving force behind it. So I love the way that you talk about that, and then you're able to then translate that to somebody that says, I want to start a business and I've got the best cookie in the world, but I have
Mhm.
no earthly idea how to take this cookie and put it on store shelves.
Yeah, absolutely. And the beauty of what I do is that I can do it for my clients in so many different ways. The principles are the same. I have a client that wanted to start a brick and mortar gym. I have a client that sells an actual product. It's like a popsicle, and she's going to go. She's ready for distribution, and it's going to be in grocery stores nationwide. I have a client that does coaches and coaches women and takes them on these wonderful retreats where they can reconnect and learn how to give to themselves first. I have a woman who is a leadership coach slash attorney and is coaching other women in the corporate world who are in these high powered positions. So all of them are so different, but the principles are the same. The principle of one, knowing who you are, what your brand, what do you stand for, what do you offer, and who is the person that this is the service for, or the product, or the thing for. That's very important. And many times we believe that, oh, I just want to do it all. And that happened to me. I had to learn the hard way. I I was afraid, and yes, I'm multi-passionate and multi-dimensional, and I was afraid like, "Oh, I need business. I need a client. Like, who cares? Like, I can do that. You wanted me to coach you on how to put together a resume? I'll do it. You want me to coach you on weight loss? I'll do it. You're a guy, you wanna, start an app." I remember one of my first clients, I coached him on how to start an app. He was launching an app, and it was great, and he's great, and I loved working with him. And not to say that I don't work with male clients, but you will notice when you go to my website, when you hear my marketing, it's really talking to the woman who is in midlife and is looking to start and grow a business. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have other clients that don't necessarily fall into that, but you have to really define your message. And when you stick to that and stop trying to be everything to everyone, you can find some success. And I think that this also applies to life. In life, and this is positive talk radio. We try to be everything and we can't. We are just us. You mentioned there are some gifts that we have, some that we don't. And when we try to do what's not in our zone of expertise, then we are saying no to the things that really bring us joy, that light us up, that help us live in our purpose and help us be the person that we're meant to be in this world.
I really like the fact that you are working with um, women that have a little bit more seasoning in on them, and that
That's a nice way of saying it. I may have to borrow that for marketing.
and that that they've raised their kids are in college or they're gone, or and they're looking at their life going, okay, I've done the house, I've done the picket fence, I've done the
Mhm.
2.3 kids and the dog and the husband. Now what am I going to do with myself? And I'm
Right.
far too young to retire.
Yeah.
And to give them the passion and to help them understand is what is what is possible for them, because a lot
Mhm.
of, correct me if I'm wrong, but do a lot of women not even know what's possible for them?
Yes and no. Here's the thing, and I'm hoping to change this. I am the anomaly in the sense that I grew up in a household of strong women. My grandmother, and I talk about her in my book, and I talk about my great aunt as well in the book, because in a at the turn of the 20th century, my grandmother you didn't see, if you come from an affluent family in Latin America, you were raised to go get married. And
Mhm.
you had some beautiful skills. You knew how to keep a home or entertain, but your job was to, get married, have kids, and, do the thing. But my grandmother was an obstinate person that she wanted to teach. She wanted to grow, help others, and it wasn't very in vogue to get that education. And she kept being educated. Her father, when she finally said to him, "I want to go and teach," he said, "No, no one in our circles has a job. You stay home." And she said, "No, I want to go teach." And he said, "Okay, fine, I'll build you a school." So not only did she become a teacher, but she then had, and eventually he ran the school at first, but when he passed, my grandmother became the business owner, right? And I grew up seeing this strong woman who would speak, would volunteer, would give to others, ran a business and was a teacher. And for me, and then you would throw in my dad and how he mentored and coached me and supported me and encouraged me. So I grew up thinking it's possible. I can do this. Maybe I haven't seen it a lot, but why not? Why not me? Whereas many women, right? If you think about, many women grew up and we didn't have that. We didn't see a lot of the women heading companies or trailblazing or, you know, creating products. We didn't see that. You think of Mary Kay, you think of Estee Lauder. Estee Lauder, she might have been a big, big company for cosmetics, but she didn't run her company. There was some guy, the CEO of the company.
Exactly. Mary Kay, the same thing, I believe.
Well, Mary Kay had her son, and she really, Mary Kay ran the company, but her son was by her side, and she really empowered a lot of women and has done some incredible things.
Yep.
But ultimately, there's not a lot of these examples in which we see women. And I think that when I think of my girlfriends right now, people are around my age, when their kids are leaving home, they're going to college, they're maybe have been teaching 25, 30 years. What's next for me? Most of the world has been saying, "Hey, you are done with your kids. There's not much. Retire, be done." But we want to redefine. Think about it. We're living to be 70, 80. If you are 52, that's another good 20, 30 years that you could be around. Why don't you make it count? Why don't you decide, you know what? Um, Go and do it. I know my mom, sadly, when she turned 50, she was laid off, and, she's like, "Well, who's gonna hire me? I'm too old." But we're never too old to start again. We're never too old to be willing to do something new, only if we try.
It's amazing that you came from a family that the women were very strong and able to do it. By the way, I wanna make sure that we get this out. You have a book out. It's called Confident You: Simple Habits to Live the Life You Have Imagined,
Mhm.
and you can pick that up at Amazon or anywhere else.
Yep.
You've also been on, goodness gracious, you've been on NBC and CBS and, iHeartRadio, and been on a bunch of podcasts, so I'm honored, number 1, to have you on the podcast. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, and it's really is important. And by the way, you can follow along with us by going to our website, which is goconfidentlycoaching.com. And you can find out all about her and the work that she does. And she also works with other women, other powerful women. And one of them is the project that we were talking about that I can't pronounce.
The Passionistas Project, my friends, Amy and Nancy Harrington.
Yes, indeed, and they've been on the show, and we got along great, and they're awesome. I love the work that they're doing, and
Mm.
just like you, being a powerful woman doesn't mean that you don't donate your time and you work to empower other people. And their mission, as I understand it, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but their mission is to work with women of color, women who are disabled. And as a matter of fact, next Wednesday I get to interview Miss Luna.
Yay! I'm so excited for that.
I am too.
She's
She's
incredible.
she's an awesome actress and a voiceover artist, and she also has got physical challenges and stuff to go through. So tell us a little bit about the Pastani. I tried it. I'll
So
try it
you gotta
again.
say Passionistas.
Passionistas Project.
Yeah, so the Passionistas Project, it's an incredible summit. This is my 3rd year participating, and it's a
Good for you.
3-day virtual event, and it focuses on diversity, inclusion, equity, and on issues that are important to women. And Kevin, I have to say you're an ally, and you know that right now women are, being faced with I don't know. Can I be a little controversial?
You may.
There may be some circles in which people think, well, you know what? Women need to just be in the home, raise the kids. It's nice that you're gonna, um, be out here, but maybe they're intimidated in some level. And I want to create spaces, and I want to be in spaces like the Passionistas have created, where we are saying, hey, everybody belongs. It's not just a few. It's not just a group of individuals, but everybody has a voice. Everybody has a voice that matters. Diversity is what makes us stronger. But a lot of times people allow themselves to be divided because of the differences. And ultimately, I am a person that is a multiple ethnic backgrounds. And my strength comes from all of that. Not because I can see the world in different views, and I understand that there's no right way. There's your way, and your way is it's beautiful. And there's so many of us that have something to share, have a message, and we are stronger together. And we need to stop focusing on the differences that divide us. We need to start focusing on the ways in which we can create a world in which my niece or my my nephew's children can see that there is empowerment. There's communities that are doing such wonderful work. There's educational programming that the in this 3-day event there's going to be all kinds of wonderful speakers, filmmakers, transformational individuals. I mean, you go down the list and it's incredible to see who is everybody who is going to be speaking. So it is nothing but short of an honor to be included in that list of people.
Well, one of the things that I've learned in working with Nancy and Amy is that disabled people in this country are
Mm,
treated horribly.
yeah.
Um, that there are states there are states in the United States, and this may be a little controversial, but you can go look it up. That but they get paid as little as 22 cents an hour
Mm,
for to work in a corporation, which is just, I mean, I defy you to live on $20 an hour, let alone 22 cents an hour.
yeah,
And
indeed.
we need to rethink a lot of things in this country. And here I'll be controversial as well, and like to speak to the men that are out there, that if you have somebody that you love and that you support, you want them to be come and to do everything in their life that they would like to be and do and have and become. And so
Yeah,
consequently, you don't hold your spouse down and say, well, you've always been a housewife and this is what you should do. Support them,
yeah,
because
absolutely.
I think personally, I think that we are, because we 50% of our population, which happen to be women, are not given the opportunity like men are to
Mm,
achieve greatness. And if we are going to ever achieve what we would like in this country, which is total equality and goodness for everyone and everybody
yeah,
works together, we have got to be a lot more open, and talking about men here, about open and honest about giving your wife, your mother, your daughters every opportunity to be exactly what they can be, because the
mm.
society will benefit from it.
Yeah, and Kevin, it's incredible that still to this day, Women are earning 82 cents on the dollar for every dollar that a man earns in the world in the in corporate world.
That's
When
correct.
it comes to entrepreneurship, there is a larger amount of women that are actually starting businesses, but the reality is that 88% of them are not making $100,000 or making less than that. It's incredible to me, and this is why I'm so passionate. And now when you talk about, the people who have disabilities, I have a friend, she has been on my podcast. It's someone that I met, and I so admire her. Um, she posted a video that was incredibly sad over the weekend. She's in a wheelchair. She has been in a wheelchair, and she went to get her nails done, and they refused her service because the sink that they have where you go and wash your hands is not something that she can reach with her wheelchair in this nail salon. And typically, what they do is the woman that does her nails usually just um, sanitizes her hands, and that means coming around the partition, right? The plexiglass partition to where the wheelchair is and helping her sanitize her hands. But the women that were there did not want to come through the partition and said, "Sorry, without you washing your hands, we can't help you." And she felt humiliated on a Saturday afternoon being in this establishment, and they said, "We can't help you." And just to be called out because of her disability. And I can tell you that I don't want to live in a world like that. My grandmother, she had cancer at the age of 75 and had her leg amputated. So I grew up with someone in a wheelchair, and she was not going to allow herself to be stopped by being in a wheelchair. But we need to create a world where it doesn't matter who you are, but you feel included and you feel as every opportunity is available to you.
You know what's sad is the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, addresses many of the things that you're talking about as far as wheelchair accessibility
Mhm.
in a business like that, and they obviously were non-compliant with that, and
Mm.
that happens all over the country all the time.
Oh,
That there's
100%.
There are places that are not they don't have, bathrooms that are ADA compliant, or they don't have
Mhm.
ramps that are wide enough, and so, we've got a lot of work to do, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you and Nancy and Amy are knee deep in it because that's how change happens, and
Change happens with one person making the decision to say, you know what, this may be uncomfortable, but I'm going to speak up, or I'm going to do it, or I'm going to create an opportunity, or I'm going to have the conversation. And I want to say that we need to have more opportunities to talk about it, because
Mhm.
people avoid conversations that are difficult. People avoid conversations that they because they, oh, I don't want to fight. I don't want to be controversial. But it's not about fighting and being controversial. It's about coming to the table together and say, "Hey, what do you believe? What are your thoughts on this and why? Here, let me share with you why I think this and why I believe this." And creating the dialogue in which we respectfully understand each other's perspectives and then together create a solution.
See, this is called positive talk radio. And there are sometimes when people would say, well, it's positive talk radio, so it's a Pollyanna thing that you're all puppy dogs and roses and all that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is that in order for us to have a society where we can live in a positive thing, we have to talk about those things. We have to talk about
Mhm.
the fact that 13 million kids go to bed hungry every day, and that
Yeah.
there are 4.5 million people in the foster care system, and that 45,000 people die of drug overdoses every year. You can't not deal with those things and be positive at the same time. We
Yeah.
we need to come up with solutions. At least that's my opinion. What do you think?
You bring up foster care, and I think that this is something that, again, I have a friend who grew up in foster care. I have a friend who she was my colleague at work, and talk about resiliency. But the opportunities that she's had in life are very different, because ultimately, when you're in foster care, you know, they you're sort of like forgotten in some ways, right? There are nearly 400,000 children in foster care right now. And there's over 600,000 kids that have been in one part or another in foster care. And we don't talk about how these kids don't get the social, emotional support, because it's not just about, getting schools, getting clothes. And listen, that's very important. That's part of that hierarchy of needs that we have. But ultimately, you also have to have that acknowledgement that, hey, you are safe, and that can create in you as a person the ability to then show up at school and get the grades. um, these kids, if they get to college, some of them don't even finish college because they have to work. They age out of the system, and they don't have someone sending them care packages.
Nope.
My friend's son just went to college, and I will tell you, this kid went with everything he needed: brand new sheets, a brand new refrigerator, all kinds of cleaning products, brand new clothes. Some of these foster care kids are not going to college like that, and they are showing up, and there might be a little behind already in school, and they're starting some remedial college classes, right, if they get to a campus, and then they have to also work because they didn't have parents or family and friends that are giving them these things that they just show up in college with, right?
It was interesting. I was having a conversation over lunch last Sunday with a young lady. Well, she's not. She's 40, 38 now,
Mhm.
and she grew up in the foster care system. So I asked about a particular time, like when was the last time you had a dog, and she was thinking. She was thinking, and she said, "I'm sorry I'm taking so long, but I'm trying to remember. I'm going
Mhm.
back in time as to which house I was in and whose house I was in over that period of time because she had been in like 10 different home settings, some
Mm.
good, some less good,
Yeah.
that she had to deal with over her foster care life." And I was just thinking that's even worse than a military brat
Right.
that has to go to different schools every other year. You're uprooted, and she was saying that there were times when in the middle of the night, people would come and they would take her out to go somewhere else that she'd never been, and a school that she'd never gone to, and her friends never heard from her again. That's criminal.
Mm. I can tell you an example. For the educational company that I worked for in New York City, we had a program that we ran in Brooklyn, and we ran this program um, for a non-for-profit that was being paid by the city. And this non-for-profit would bring in foster care students to get tutored after school. And, we're trying to give them a leg up with their educational skills. And I'll never forget, we walked in to the program, and it's New York, it's the middle of winter. And there was a kid that's sitting there with his little beaten and battered coat, and he's sitting there trying to, learn. And it's already hard for him because he's behind, he's missed school, all the different things, right? And he's shivering, and we said, "Oh, are you okay? Do you wanna put your coat away?" And he's like, "No, I just can't get warm." And we kept thinking, like, trying to make him comfortable, and come to find out, and we're like, "Well, we're inside now." He's like, "Yeah, ma'am, but, when I get out of school and I go to my foster care home, I'm not allowed to go into the house until the mom comes home. So her kids are allowed to go inside, but I have to wait outside." So here's this kid, and then we think about, like, what why is there, why are these kids ending up going from foster care to dropping out of school to getting into trouble? Because they're not in ideal situations, right? And many of these kids are coming from homes already that are broken, that have deficiencies and difficulties, but this is how they're dealing with everyday life.
And it's terrible. The statistics that I was told were that 25% of foster care kids graduate from high school.
Yeah.
25%. And that a large percentage of people in the penal system,
Mhm,
in the jail system, are came from foster care, because I
mhm.
can't imagine how difficult it would be to grow up, not have any hope, not have any connection, deep connections with a family and stuff. And you're going from house to house, and some of the foster care people are good, some of them are not so good, some of them are downright criminal, depending, so, and they can't, and the system can't keep up with all these kids, and it's terrible. And now with what's happening with the Roe versus Wade thing, there's only going to be more kids that are going to be in foster care.
Yeah. And I will say to you, again, um, there is over 20,000 is the stat. The kids that end up aging out of foster care that never found a permanent home to land in, right?
Yep.
These kids are the ones who are most likely to end up homeless, unemployed, incarcerated. And that is a staggering number. A staggering number. And when you say, well, that's not my problem, when let's talk about Roe versus Wade. Let's talk about that. You're right. There's going to be a lot more kids going into foster care. There's going to be a lot more kids who don't have the resources. The system is taxed as it is right now. And I am all for, you know, I, I am pro-choice, and I'm gonna say this, and I know that many people are gonna be dying that I'm saying this, but it's true. But the reason I'm pro-choice is because 'cause I'm also pro-education. Let's educate these kids in the school because honestly, abstinence, if you're teaching abstinence, you're going to have a problem. Our kids' brains are not developed till they're in their 20s, and you're telling a 14, 50-year-old, 15-year-old that is ruled by their hormones abstinence?
Well, have you heard of the gospel according to Whoopi Goldberg?
So, I've heard of it, but I want you to tell me more because I don't wanna maybe I haven't heard what you've heard.
Kids are going to continue to have sex because it feels good, or it's
Yeah.
because they are insecure, or there is another underlying reason. But
Mm.
just saying, telling a 15-year-old boy, just say no, isn't going to
Yeah.
happen. So, I agree with you. I'm also pro-choice, but I am my belief is that abortion should be legal, safe, and rare.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And we
Absolutely, and I will tell you that, for many women, um, this is not a choice that you go into lightly. This is not a choice that, um but there's no 100%, um, contraception. And there's things that, oh, we can talk about this all day, right? But ultimately, I think that it's very important that healthcare be available to everyone, to women, to what because we're a nation that prides itself of being so much, but yet, when it comes to preventative healthcare for people, people don't get to be diagnosed or get the proper advice when it comes to their health because they can't afford it. If they can't pay for the insurance and then they can't take the day off for work because maybe they don't even make the $20 an hour. And if you don't work, like I know many people, right? If I don't work, I don't get paid, I don't get paid, I don't pay the bills. And it's a whole vicious circle that we can be stuck into.
Well, and I'll tell you the biggest thing that the federal minimum wage is $7.25. That doesn't cut it. I don't care where you live. You can't live on 40 hours a week at $7.25. Doesn't work.
No, not at all.
You can't. And the other thing that I wanted to mention to you is that I'm not sure. It was a long time since I took biology,
Mhm.
but I'm pretty sure that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but women don't get pregnant by themselves, do they?
No, no, we don't. No, it takes 2 to tango. And
So if we are going to have this society where we're going to say, if you get pregnant, you're going to have to deal with the consequences, I think that it should be a multi-gender thing. If you get
mm,
somebody pregnant, you should have to deal with the consequences of that child.
But, then that's the problem, right? Like, no offense to the men that listen to the show, but you can decide that you can impregnate 100 women in one day,
There are
right?
people there are people who take a great deal of pride in that.
And they take a great deal of pride, but, you are bringing if we're bringing in these humans into the world, where's the responsibility? Where is and it's forget the clothing, the food for this child, but the I go back to the emotional well-being of the human person that and then it just gets passed on from generation to generation. There's a study that talks about, and I am just starting to learn about this. So Kevin, you cannot, I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I've had a guest on my show. I've been reading a couple different books about this, but there's a study that talks about how when you undergo trauma, if you've gone through trauma yourself, and trauma could be your parents getting divorced. You don't have to have some horrific thing happen to you. You could Trauma could be that you are not um, being fed on time, or maybe you had an illness as a child. There's so many different things that can constitute that send your nervous system into this flight or fight response, and it taxes your body. But what happens is any type of trauma that you've undergone kind of gets encoded into your DNA. So I will take my paternal grandmother, for instance. My paternal grandmother um, had an unwanted pregnancy. And this is before Roe v. Wade was passed. And my grandfather said, "Nope, I don't want that child. Take care of it." Right? And I'm not even going to go into talking about what happened or didn't happen, but the reality is that that is a traumatic experience for a person. That DNA she passed on to my dad, passed on to me. It gets encoded. It's been found that our trauma responses are not from our own experiences, but are being passed on from all other families. This is the constellation. Of trauma that's encoded into our DNA. So now our flight or fight responses, we are reacting to things not just because of what we've been through, but because of the experience of other people as well. And I find this incredibly fascinating. So think about a child that is going to be born to maybe a teen mom or a 20 something that's in college, the or a rape victim, some of the things that they are going to go through, right?
Oh, yeah.
As a child, and some of the already emotional toll that they are being born into, not to mention not having their needs met physically, food wise, etc.
Exactly. And by the way, we're going to run out of time because I know you have a hard break that we have to take in. We've got just a couple of minutes left. But will you come back so that we can talk about some of the solutions to these issues?
Yes, let's talk solutions, because you know what? I don't want to be the negative Nelly that's like, oh, look at all these terrible things going on. There's so many solutions that can happen. There's so many organizations doing incredible work. And it doesn't take us breaking the bank. You can roll up your sleeves, you can show up, you can spend time with foster care kids, you can be that good influence. You can go find reading programs. Hey, Read for the Record is coming up in September. That's a great opportunity to go into a school and come and be the adult that's going to read to some students. Yes, I can talk solutions. I want to talk about what is it that we can do, because there's so many different things. No matter who you are, where you are, you can make an impact, just a small ripple effect, by something that you choose to do daily, or, in your communities.
Let's talk about the Passionista program.
You got it. The Passionistas Project Summit.
And when is
And
it exactly so that people can tune in?
yeah, so it's going to be on September 21st at 5 p.m. through September 23rd at 3 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And you can get tickets online at hopin.com /events /2022 Power of Passionista Summit. Or you can go to, I am sure you'll have this in the show notes, or you can connect with me. I will send you tickets or share all the incredible resources that are going to be there. Really, Nancy and Amy curate one of the best events. They will have some awards. Also, the Passionista Persist Award is going to be going to Laramie Newman. We also have Rebecca Coakley, who is getting the Passionista Persist Humanitarian Award. Soronia Chamley is also going to be getting the Passionista Trailblazer Award. We have Denai Escaravenino, who is getting the Passionista Vanguard Award. And then Kim Roxy is getting the Passionista Persist Award. And these are incredible women who are in their own right, creating solutions, building equity, creating just a world that we can all live and live our passions and be a better world by coming together.
And by the way, one of the past winners is Jane Goodall.
Yes, she is. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. Her speech last year was phenomenal. I loved, loved, loved learning more about her. And we've heard about her from so many different venues, but getting her to be there was great. And it kicks off at 5 p.m. with the Luna Fest, which is a night of films by women, followed by a roundtable of filmmakers. So this is promising to be an incredible event for sure.
So where can they pick up tickets again one more time?
Yeah, so tickets will be at Hopin, HOPIN.com/events/2022 Power of Passionistas. Or you can go to the Passionistas Project, which is probably much easier, the Passionistasproject.com. And then you click on the tab for 2022 Summit.
And find out more about Julie by going to goconfidentlycoaching.com. Thank you so much for being here. Will you come back?
Oh, anytime. I'm happy to come back. Thank you so much for putting your self into the world, your energy to help others become a better version of themselves by finding that positivity that we all have. And Positive Talk Radio is the way to go, people. Surround yourself with the type of energy and community that makes you better.
We can all do it, but we can
Yeah,
only do it together.
that's
If
right.
we recognize that we are all one, we can do it all together. And that's the way it was designed to be. And that's the way it should be.
Absolutely. Kevin, thank you so much for having me. It is an honor and pleasure to be here. And let's talk. This is a fun venue to be and have great conversations.
We'll do this next time. Sadly, you got to go when we're over time. So thank you so much for being here, Julie.
You're
And
welcome.
have a great day. If you wait right there, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin.
Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another because each other's all